Fred, since the loss of your daughter to the Parkland shooting, you've been working tirelessly to push lawmakers to act to address gun violence. What's going through your mind today? And Fred, by the way, thank you for being with us.
No, thank you for having me. A big exhale. Listen, I've been at this for 4 years. There are people who are here today who have been at this far longer, working to do one simple thing: reduce gun violence and save lives. And today is a reflection of getting that done to an extent. There's so much more we need to do. But Jose, and you and I have gotten to know each other. I mean, the reality is I'm here today for this, and Wednesday I'll be at the cemetery for what should have been my daughter's 19th birthday. It's why people like me won't ever stop this work.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that, Fred. She would have been 19 this Wednesday, day after tomorrow. You know, Fred, I keep thinking about the last time you and I spoke. It was days after. It was, I think, the day after the massacre in Uvalde, Texas. And Fred, I remember the generosity of your spirit when you talked to me and asked those families that were going through this undescribable pain that you were willing to reach out to them. I'm just wondering, Fred, where do you get, what part of the spirit is it that a human being can find to be able to reach out to others in times of such indescribable grief when one is continuing to suffer indescribable grief?
Because I'm always a dad, and I'm always going to be a dad responding to what happened to my two children. And as we've spoken about in the past, it's not just my daughter who was killed, it's also my son who was there and heard the shots. You know, gun violence affects so many people beyond those that we bury. And so people like me who have been affected, we do this, Jose, because unfortunately, the next one we know is predictable, and we have to stay strong so that we can help the next set of families through it. Listen, today, because we elected President Biden, we are taking steps that will ensure there will be fewer instances of gun violence, that fewer people will die. But our work goes on, because we need to make sure that we continue to elect people like President Biden. I mean, I'm right here in front of the White House, so that we can continue to take the big steps necessary to solve this issue.
Fred, you also spoke out on a new report from the FBI that says that more than 11,000 people were able to buy guns in 2020 and 2021 before their background checks showed that they should not have been allowed to do so. What impact do you believe this law is going to have on preventing things like this?
So here's the thing. That report is a complete reflection of why our work isn't done, because we need to continue to fix the holes in the background check system that might allow something like this to happen. We need universal background checks, and this bill doesn't do that. But what this bill does do, and especially with the younger people, is it puts extra steps in place. It puts the FBI and local law enforcement in contact. It extends red flag laws. It does so many important things that will stop instances. Unfortunately, there are going to be instances, and that's why we need to keep fixing what we know is broken.
And so, Fred, what are the next steps you think are fundamental that should be taken?
Well, I'm realistic. This is an election year, and I don't think legislation is going to happen. So the next step is everyone needs to show up in November and vote for gun safety candidates. We need to vote to add more of them in the Senate and more of them in the House. If people like the fact that we are finally able to take some steps to solve gun violence, send more of those, like the ones who got this deal done and like President Biden, to get things done after the next election. We need the ban. We need, reductions in magazine limits. We need to fix background checks. There's so much more we can do, and none of it is an affront to Second Amendment rights, but it will save lives, and that should be the only goal that people have.
And Fred, just wrapping up our conversation, for which I'm grateful. I just want your thoughts and what we should be thinking about, and what we need to remember about Jamie when she would have turned 19 day after tomorrow, and your son as well, who clearly is of what he witnessed and what he and your whole family has had to go through. But I'm just thinking if you want to just talk a little bit about Jamie for us.
You know, I've always talked about Jamie and what a fighter she was and how hard she fought for justice and right. And I stand here today knowing that my daughter, even though it's from her grave, is part of a history and saving lives. And I stand here today with thousands of other people who also lost loved ones, who are going to be a part of history, knowing their loved ones are going to save lives. Listen, Jose, I mourn my daughter every second of every minute of every day. But she stands on my shoulders, pushing me forward. And because of her, and because of the other families and who they love and lost, this isn't over. There's so much more we can do. And with people like my daughter on my shoulders, it's going to happen.